Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Hey, hello. How are y'all getting on? Welcome back. So, it's the second podcast, Tech Yurt by Goosed, the podcast where we try to make technology, well, a little less boring and a bit more fun. What are we going to talk about today? That's simple. Virtual reality and augmented reality. There's been a lot in the news about both of these technologies in recent weeks, so we thought we'd have a dive in, figure out what's going on, why the money's being spent on it, and why is nobody really using it. We're also going to have a look at the iPhone X, the disaster that has been the iPhone X. There's been a bit of news out about that during the week, so we're definitely going to have a look at that and find out what's going on there. And finally, to wrap it all up, we're going to have a look at some games. I don't know if everybody's noticed recently, but Fortnite and PlayerUnknown, they've been massive. So we're going to have a look at what our favourite games are on the market right now, some games that are coming up, and what we can expect to see. Joining myself and Dino on the couch this week is our man, Gary Cronin, the gamer, the Gadget Man of Goosed, GGG. Like the boxer, I guess, but not. Anyway, rather than me waffling on anymore, how about we just dive in and get this started? See you on the other side. Hey, Dean.
Hey.
Gary.
Sorry, how are you?
Yay, you're here, finally. This is great. So
Finally.
Yeah, nice to have you again. So let's get started. Where do you want to... Gary, it seems as you're the new man to this week. Where do you want to start?
Well, to be honest with you, I think we should start off on VR.
Yeah.
Look, maybe over the last 18 months, maybe even 2 years, it's been big in the news, been big on the radar of everybody, but look, I think it's fair to say it just hasn't taken off.
That's an understatement. It's literally nosedived off the face of the planet in my mind.
It's just too much hassle, and setting up the headsets and all that, and even the price of them. It's just easier to just kick back and just play with a controller in your hand. I think it's a nice novelty thing, but it just, I don't know, it's just one of those things that people can't be arsed doing, like people who aren't tech heads.
There are cheap models.
Still, it's not even the fact that the price that's the issue. Like, it's just the hassle of having to set it up and everything. Like, I'd say it's fun for like 15-20 minutes, like, but you can't just sit down all day and play it. Like.
Fair enough. Gary, what were you saying?
If you look at kind of the big gaming thing this year, I mean, look, VR is going to be the big market for VR was always going to be gaming, particularly with PlayStation coming on board. Vive were going heavy on the gaming side of things, but if you look,
they've partnered with Steam, isn't it? If I'm correct.
Yeah,
that's
right. And then Oculus, Facebook were doing massive stuff together as well.
And they had a partnership with Samsung, and I'm correct as well. Like, it's the Samsung VR kit is an Oculus set that your S7, S8 fits into.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even to the point where Mark Zuckerberg was actually at the last. I think it was at the launch of the S8 or an S8 Plus. To go through, or possibly at last year's CES, to go through the whole new world of VR, and when they launched their Gear 360 camera. But, from a gaming side of things, everything has gone retro, and as Dean said, the idea of being able to pick up a controller, turn it on, play it for 20 minutes, and then throw it aside, whereas I've seen lads having to, spend 40 minutes setting up a PlayStation VR, and then nearly give you a tutorial on how to work the fucking thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know what? Do I need this?
Probably not.
Probably not.
Not for the money. For me, it's really the finance side of things. I mean, the Oculus is £100 starting, and that's before you've even bought your €700-800 smartphone. The Vive is another €400 piece of kit, but at least that's relatively standalone in comparison to the PlayStation one, which is £400, which is the same price as the PlayStation. The only one that really stands out for me is the Google Daydream, but it doesn't really have that much in the way of functionality, but it looks really nice.
It looks great. It looks really, really good. The only problem with it is it's not officially obviously available in Ireland, which is a pain.
Do you think the HTC Vive Pro is going to change the game, or what? I don't know, because the Vive Pro is a lot better. I mean, we were looking at it in a bit of in kind of in a light manner last week, and we were obviously saying that they've increased their pixel count by like 80% almost, so like the definition is going to be a huge benefit this time around. But is that where the problem is, or like is it something else? because I don't think it's the quality.
Again, I just think it's the hassle of it. I mean, like, I got a PS4 there before Christmas, and this is the first console I've bought probably since my Xbox 360 years ago. And even the hassle of having to download games, and then download updates, and then install games, it's enough hassle actually getting your games up to play on the PlayStation. Never mind having to, like, start to set up a VR headset. And, like, I know that obviously HTC is its own kind of the HTC Vive is its own console in itself. But again, I just can't see it taking off. Like last year, we actually thought that VR was going to really make a big impact on the market.
Yeah.
But again, it's just for the general population. If I said to my mother, or even just a random gamer, like have you ever played a VR game? They'd probably say no.
Ask him the same question about VR porn.
Well, yeah, that's a different story in itself. Like,
quick call of hands there. Of the three of us, how many of us have actually watched something in, some porn on VR?
I've experienced VR once, and
you watched porn.
No,
what?
It was Star Wars, which is basically porn for me.
Gary, you're awful silent.
I will openly admit in public that I have experienced virtual reality porn.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
It's the. Do you know what? It's the weird. It's strange because it's somebody mentioned it to me. Let's put it that way, and it's strange.
It is strange. It is strange, but you get to feel like you're there, and it's been a long few months. All right, leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, I just hope my girlfriend's not listening to this.
well, for some, isn't it?
But no, I reckon.
No, I think Dean has hit on the point there. It's the whole hassle of it, the accessibility of it. You take into account the fact that Apple actually haven't launched any hardware for it, even though
Yeah, but Apple have enough problems.
Yeah, when you talk about tech, Apple being the number one or number two, depending on the place in the world, and they just haven't gotten behind it. They seem to be more concentrating on augmented reality more than virtual reality.
AR does seem to be the big push. It does. It really, really does. There's a lot of good stuff happening in AR.
Yeah.
But before we actually move on to that, I suppose we should actually probably tell people what VR or virtual reality actually is. That's probably a good point that we've missed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just basically like you stick on a headset and it just puts you into a
different world.
Simulated world, like basically, yeah, kind of like a simulation that's similar to what you see on TV, except obviously it's just on a headset and you feel like you're really there. Like there's loads of videos, we've all seen all the videos on Facebook and stuff like of like there's some zombie game that is on it, like, and people would wear it and they actually do get really scared and frightened. And I have done it as well, like I said, with the Star Wars simulation, and I turned around at one point and something jumped out at me and I did kind of jump a bit because you really do think that you're there. But again, it's just down to, it's just one of those things. I experienced it. I don't really have any interest in experiencing it again. To be honest, like I can't. It's not going to work with movies, obviously, because you're not going to be able to sit there with a yoke on you for an hour and a half. It's not going to work with gaming, because again, you're not going to like binge a whole day of gaming, like playing it for a few hours.
You might not waste the whole day gaming. I, however, spent literally 8 hours on the weekend, balls deep on my laptop playing a game, and I didn't even get up for food or air. I sat there and lost myself, and it was fantastic. So, yeah, I can see the benefit for gaming. Gary, we'll leave it on this, and we'll leave you get the final word on VR before we move on to AR. What's the future like for what lies in the future for VR? Do we see it coming to a standstill, or what do we think is going to change the game and make it something that's accessible?
I don't think you're going to see any massive leaps forward within the next 18 months. I think if this is going to go anywhere, it is down to other manufacturers getting on board, i.e. Apple. Once they get on board, I think you'll see an awful lot more of the big developers coming on board from the gaming side of things. It is still fairly niche from that perspective. Is it a dead duck? Probably too early to say, but it's the signs for me. The signs aren't good.
For me, the signs aren't good right now. But I think there's so much money and so much effort being put into it, and I suppose in terms of technology, this is what the industry second or third time really pushing for VR. So it's something that the big tech companies really want to make happen, and sooner rather than later they will. It's just what is that breakthrough going to be that brings us to that point, I guess. Long story short for me.
Yeah, maybe, sure. I suppose time will tell. But when I say time, I mean it'll be a couple of years down the line. Maybe like a new generation of gamers, like when the kids who are like 5, 6, 7 years old now start to be getting to like teenage years, it might be a bit more popular, it might be a bit more accessible and cheaper, and then it will take off. But over the next couple of years, I just can't really see it take off.
Yeah. So yeah, can we move on to something that's a little less, depressing? Like we actually like technology here, yeah. So there's no point let's slamming everything. I mean, let's talk about where the big developments are happening. AR, augmented reality, it's where everything seems to be going, and the big push in technology is happening right now. So who wants to lead the charge on this one, boys? Dean or Gary? Take it away.
Go on, guys.
Well, Grant. Well, to be honest with you, lads, I am actually really, really excited about AR.
Yep. Yeah, me too.
So if considering I've just put everybody on a downer about virtual reality, augmented reality is, for me, potentially, well, not potentially, it already is, but it's a big thing.
It's here.
It's here. Well, it's here. If you look at what Apple are doing in the States at the moment, they're testing out things like, if you're at a baseball game, for example, and American sports being notoriously bad for having people 2 miles away from the pitch. Whereas over here in little old Paddyland, we're used to being on the side of the GAA pitch.
Gary getting his Super Bowl plugs in early. Well played.
Absolutely. Yes, definitely. Super Bowl Sunday. Make sure you watch it. Go Pats. But
Boo.
The idea being is that you can get stats up on your player on your phone by just holding up your camera, and then statistics come up on the phone about how many home runs he's hit, or if it's American football, how many interceptions he's thrown, whatever it might be. This sort of stuff is exciting. This sort of stuff is mainstream.
It is amazing because like people, one of the biggest apps that's on any market right now is essentially an augmented reality app, and that's Snapchat. I mean,
and Instagram, to be fair.
Instagram to a lesser extent, but really, Snapchat is where AR has shown its introductory abilities, I guess. I mean, you have your bit emojis, you have your filters. I mean, bloody hell, you have the geotag. So if you go to events now, you get filters that are dedicated to location, and that is essentially augmented reality.
Yeah, and like I said, like it's not even the fact that a case that's really on the rise. Like I think it's here. Obviously, we all saw how successful Pokemon Go was. Was that 2 years ago now?
But just over a year ago, man.
I don't think
they made a fortune.
Well, yeah, they did make an absolute fortune. Obviously, it was kind of it's short-lived, and
it's
apparently
still going,
there was some new.
Still going.
Well, I suppose in other countries, like probably is. I don't know how much in Ireland.
I have a mate who still plays it religiously. It's actually a bit worrying, but
there's some Harry Potter game now that's meant to have been developed. I'm not really sure what it meant to do with it, or if it's even that popular. But it does go to show that like some developers are taking an interest in AR, and I do think that on smartphones AR gaming can definitely work. I'm not a big gamer on my smartphone itself, like I'm not a big gamer in general, I suppose, but like I do think that there definitely
You're
is a
going to be
market
so
there
useful
for AR
when we go
games.
talking about games later, aren't you?
No, absolutely. I mean, even the likes you can pick up the toy guns where you stick your phone into it. I remember seeing them, for Galaxy S3s years.
And then you obviously have the likes of the Anki Overdrive, the Scaletrix, which is like futuristic with an AR sideline. So you use your tablet to get like a graphic overlay of the track to make it look a bit more entertaining, I guess, which is pretty bloody cool. And they're not that expensive, I think.
No, but this is the difference with AR. AR now is because it doesn't necessarily need your high end. Look, it's better.
It needs a camera, basically. That's all it needs.
That's all you need. It's just a camera and away you go.
Basically,
and things like the amount of things that's available out there with AR, it's just brings it more to the masses than virtual.
Yeah, I mean, like I was doing my research before this anyway, just to get a bit of interest, and some of the stuff I stumble upon in AR is incredible. I mean, Hyundai, the car guys, do you know that in one of their models about a year ago they got rid of the standard user manual and replaced it with an app, an augmented reality app?
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So what you do is you get your phone or your tablet and pop the hood or whatever, and instead of having to flick through the book and find out where does the oil go, where does the water go, you just put your phone over it, and it puts the tags over the items and goes, that's your oil, that's your water, that's your gasket. Don't put anything there. Don't be an idiot. Move on. I mean, that's one area that we're obviously going to see it. IKEA have an app. It's called IKEA Place. And what you can actually do is, if you're in your sitting room, pick your item of furniture and place it in your room. So before you even go to purchase from them, and that's where for companies, for big brands, I can really see the push for AR. Like, clothing companies, try on the dress before you buy it, and then you can try on, if you're getting your furniture, put it in the room before you buy it, and then purchase it through the app. So it's not just a learning experience or a technology experience, it's a purchasing pathway, I guess, which is why I think we're going to see big brand companies taking it on board, because it's an extra selling tool for them.
So we even saw with when Apple did their keynote, when they were talking about the 10 and all that, they were showing different things that you could do with the iPhone in terms of, I think it was called iKit or something like that. You could download it and you could kind of use a measuring tape out of it, and you could use one of them semicircle things that you can make angles out of, even for like builders and things like that, I don't know, welders and people fitting pipes and that kind of thing. It'll definitely make that easier. So in a few years down the line, again, when people my age start becoming not even my age, people younger than me, when people are growing up with AR in their everyday lives, it'll definitely have an impact in basically every industry in some way, shape or form, because they'll be used to growing up with technology, and technology will just be easier to them rather than bringing your measuring tape and having your toolbox and all of this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or kind of means everything then is done on your smartphone. Pretty much becomes your everything, even more than it already is now when you're talking about stuff like that. And even Dulux at the moment.
Is that why the Google Glass is happening though? Is that why the Snapchat lenses are happening? Is to try to take that technology away from a phone and into your eye, I guess, is what they're planning on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what they're doing is they're taking up probably the mantle of what Google tried to do years ago with the Google Glass. They were just probably a little bit ahead of their time when they tried that.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, on Snapchat being probably the number one interface where augmented reality exists.
It's the gateway.
Why not go after? Yeah, absolutely.
It really
why
is.
not go after that technology? Why not bring in some hardware and try and enhance that experience? Absolutely.
And when the biotech develops, how far away are we going to be from having an augmented reality interface within your actual range of vision? I guess that's the potential that AR has in my mentality anyway.
Agreed, and even that's real kind of Skynet Terminator stuff right there, John. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, yeah, fair. But that's where we're getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, what year was Terminator 7?
So I think the possibilities around AR are well.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot more.
I mean, the downside for me is the commercial aspect. Again, back to the car thing. Joe, the windscreen in your car, right? So I found that Jaguar and Hyundai had actually made augmented reality windscreens in a couple of models back as far as 2015 for CES, just to prove that the technology exists. Now, if we have augmented reality displays and we couple that with self-driving cars, that for me just screams advertising. It's another avenue of advertising, the same way that social media has become an advertising platform, the same way that we now have advertising in the likes of Snapchat, that it's just another avenue. We'll have a little ticker with breaking news in our bloody cars. And that's another aspect of merging augmented reality with other technologies. I think that for me is why augmented reality and AR, or augmented reality is AR, but the reason why it's becoming such a thing is it's so malleable with every other technology that's around it.
Sure, even I read there recently that I don't know if it was a Premier League but it was definitely some soccer league, but basically the billboards that you see around the stadiums, the moving signboards.
Old Trafford.
That they were, like Old Trafford. And
it is an Old Trafford.
What they're basically doing is the people in the stadium will only see static on them things, but depending on where you're living in the world, that billboard will advertise something. So like for Ireland it might be an Irish company, whereas if it's like
German
America
company
or Germany or
yeah.
whatever, like it'll be suited to where you're actually watching it. And like again, that's another version of AR. I know that we don't have to like be using our phones or anything, but it's still a way how companies are realizing that we could definitely use AR as like the next kind of gateway marketing.
Yep.
So it's about like you're right, Dean. You're absolutely spot on. But does that get to a point then where AR will suddenly become overkill because every company is going to be bombarding you with a like, for example, that you turn on your TV to watch United play and you're being bombarded with AR stuff. You turn on
yeah,
like
fair.
NBA and it's popping up left, right, and center. In your car, you've got ads hitting you left, right, and center when you're self-driving. This way, does it become too much? At what point?
Once I get a computer system that's like Tony Stark or like in Mission Impossible, where I can just wave my hands around and I see all my shit rolling around in front of me, that's when it can stop. At that point, I really don't care. Once I can have a computer that makes me think I'm Iron Man, I'm happy. That Mission Impossible computer actually isn't that far away from reality. There's a fella that actually developed something using Raspberry Pi as a baseway and these kind of like gloves with sensors and stuff on it, plugged it into the tower of his computer, had these essentially glasses on, and was able to display the computer through these glasses and use his hand as the controlling features. Again, that was merging augmented reality with a computer system to create the first generation, I guess, of Iron Man computers.
It's kind of like even a version of like we kind of already have it in a sense that I think the HTC Vive actually does it, where you have your two paddle things and like you can create art in the air basically. You're looking at it, it's obviously like it's not really there, like it's augmented reality art, and like artists can actually like it's like they're painting in the air with their with the headsets on. I know that's kind of going back to virtual reality again, but it's still kind of like hand in hand. So again, though, like I think that would be for a very niche market, maybe for people like architects and this kind of thing who are designing buildings. But for people like me, like us, who are like working in an office, like obviously that won't be very appealing. But there is definitely an industry there who would definitely welcome that with open arms. Yeah, designers and that kind of thing.
3D printing, blah blah blah.
Anyway, moving on from virtual and augmented reality, the
Apple screwed up again. I love it.
The failure that has been the iPhone 10.
Gary, tell us what you really feel about Apple there, will you? I know you're a lover.
Apple. Every year when Apple released their new phone, if anyone remembers the Simpsons episode with the new Malibu Stacy doll, with the new hat.
Now
Apple
with the new hat, that's the thing you say every year, every time a new iPhone comes out.
Every year, but it's got a new hat. It got a new hat. That's what Apple do every year.
They've done it for a long time, and it's starting to get depressing.
But do you know what's even more depressing though is, when they decide to do something new, it only lasts, rumored, it's only lasting 6 to 9 months. What's going on there?
Well, like, the big news that we saw this week was the fact that they lost $46 billion in shares in a week. That's outrageous.
That's kind of unheard of for Apple. But I think, I think the worst thing that they did when they were making the iPhone 10 was give it the same processor and camera as the iPhone 8. Because the iPhone 8 is actually quite a nice phone. I know it's big, it's exactly what you say. It's an iPhone 7 with a new hat. But it's a difference between, I don't know, maybe 200 or 300 quid. I just don't see why for the extra, inch, maybe, not even, of screen space. And for a phone that isn't that aesthetically pleasing compared to the iPhone 8, I can see why the iPhone 10 flopped, to be honest.
So taking in mind that they've actually had to half their production levels because of the lack of uptake of the iPhone X, my question that I'm going to ask the two of you, and I really want to hear what your opinion on this is, Tim Cook, surely after Apple's failures over the last 2 or 3 years, his time must be living on borrowed time at this stage. I mean, how Apple got rid of Steve Jobs at one point in time. How do you think that this fella's going to do if they keep losing shares year in year? What do you think?
But they're still the most valuable company in the world.
For now.
For now, yeah. But I mean, as long as Apple keeps its brand and people continue to love Apple and wear it as if it's a Abercrombie or a Michael Kors watch, it doesn't matter. Like the iPhone isn't the end all and be all of Apple. They still have their Macs. They still have the HomePod, which is coming out soon. They still have the Apple TV. They're trying to develop a self-driving car. So there's loads of stuff going on in the back end of Apple. The iPhone has been around for 10 years now. So if the iPhone fails, they already have 3 phones lined up for next year. So just because like this one model failed, and this has been the biggest failure since the iPhone came out, we haven't seen a flop like this. It's definitely not going to make the difference of Tim Cook staying in the industry or as CEO or not.
Touch a nerve there, did we?
Well, no, what's your opinion, Gary? Because just one flop isn't going to justify him being sacked from his position. Steve Jobs was hemorrhaging money back in the day when he got sacked.
Yeah, no, I think you're right as regards of Apple. Look, Apple will always be around. And look, you know, people don't always buy the device; they buy the symbol for when it comes to Apple. You know,
it's the experience, isn't it?
Say again.
It's the experience that they're trying to get you to buy into.
Yeah, exactly. It's the whole ecosystem of Apple, and as Dean said, it's not just the iPhone. It's
and they do look pretty.
MacBook range. It's their iPad range. It's their home kit, which they're collaborating with so many different developers on. Tim Cook, I think, look, the iPhone X didn't live up to expectation, and I think there's a number of reasons for that. The design of it, as Dean said, it's not the most, it's not the sexiest looking phone on the market. It's the same under the hood. It's pretty much the same as what you have on an iPhone 8. It's about the same size as the 8 Plus, but it's £400 more expensive. So it absolutely flopped. I think what you could see from Apple this year is serious game change when it comes to their phone. I think the one thing you would say with Apple is if something goes wrong, they innovate. You've seen it in the past with any of their MacBooks that they've done way back. When Jobs was first looking at this sort of stuff. Yeah. I think if Apple get the next phone wrong and it flops in the same way, I think then Cook might be in trouble. But at this point, I mean, look, they are still massively.
So you think it's similar to the Samsung thing that after the Note that they were in big trouble, so they had to knock the 8 range out of the park.
Absolutely.
So in your thinking, in your theory, sit tight and wait for next year's iPhone because it's going to be something spectacular?
I would be surprised if they don't come up with something that would just absolutely blow us all away.
So you're going to go against your now with the new hat and think Apple are going to change it up?
I think maybe for the first time in about 6 years they might actually bring something new to the table. I know I'm going against my grain there because
and it's a ballsy claim. I like it. It's 2 weeks and 2 ballsy claims here on the show.
From what I've heard now as well is apparently they're meant to be getting rid of the home button altogether and bringing out 3 bezel-less models. And being honest, I think...
You mean Samsung's?
No, like the thing...
I love winding you up about this kind of stuff.
The thing that Samsung has over every other manufacturer in the industry is that they have patented the edge. No other phone, bezel-less or not, is going to look as nice as a Samsung. So... I'm not saying that they shouldn't concentrate on going full bezel-less and getting rid of as many buttons as possible, but I just think that aesthetically they have to stop trying to compete with Samsung and just come up with some kind of a new design. Because unless they can somehow start paying Samsung, I don't know, royalties or something like that to be able to get the edge, which they're not, they need to kind of put it at the back of their minds and come up with some other kind of innovation, because the Samsung has it down to a T now. Like the edge is beautiful as much as I don't really like Samsung, but even like the LG HTC is a new bezel-less one out. Xiaomi have a couple of bezel-less phones, and the iPhone they just don't really look that nice. I actually prefer how the iPhone 8 looks over the 10 with the button. I prefer the button. I like the button.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd agree. I'd agree with that. There.
Yeah, I mean. Is the iPhone, like, people are saying that the iPhone X was a big flop, and I'm just going to act as a bit of a devil's advocate here because obviously we've Gary who's not exactly pro Apple, and then you've you who's quite pro Apple. So if I might, we've obviously seen changes in like the mobile phone industry in general. People seem to be holding on to mobiles longer. People are buying mobiles less frequently. Is this because of a lack of innovation in the industry in general that people are like, meh, I'm not going to buy the new toy? Or is it a case of they've gone too expensive? Or was the iPhone 10 or the iPhone X so similar to the 8 that nobody bothered to pick it up. Like, what's the contribute? What do we think? Gary, if you want to take.
Yeah, I think the cost. Look, when it comes to flagship phones, the cost of them now is absolutely through the roof. And when I say flagship phone, I mean your top end phones. So the iPhone X for Apple, the P10 for Huawei, the S8 Plus for Samsung. These are the top phones.
Yeah.
And you're looking at pricing for these of over €1,000. Like, you could pick up a second-hand car for less than that. You know what I mean?
But even
that might be a bit.
But the likes of the OnePlus, which you can buy flagship quality for a fraction of the price.
This is why we're seeing more and more people buy the likes of the OnePlus, because the manufacturing that's coming out of China is top of the range, but as you say, fraction of the cost. Whereas with Apple, with Samsung to a lesser degree, you're not just buying the product, you're buying the name. And I think that's what people are, at the end of the day, a Samsung phone is a Samsung phone. The S8 Plus, which launched last year, is an absolutely beautifully crafted piece of equipment. And whoever bought that is not going to be ashamed to have that for 2 or 3 years.
Well, you're on a 2-year contract, so you can't really change. So it does seem to be that even the nature of the industry in general is meaning that you're holding on to the phone for 2 years, so you won't
the other side of
modify.
Every time you walk in to sign up to a contract, it's, generally it's a 24-month contract, unless you're buying these phones SIM-free, without any sort of connection with it, in which case you're paying €1,100 or €1,200.
In general, in the Irish market at the moment, it's only, in terms of mobile phone contracts, it's Air, only if you're patching it with like home systems that you can get an 18-month contract, and there's the other brand that are about to leave the market who had a flexible rolling contract system where once you paid off the phone you were free to upgrade. So yeah, it's an interesting time, I guess, in terms of what's happening in the mobile industry, what's happening with phones in general. I mean, the iPhone is just a tip of the iceberg of what could be happening in general in the phone industry, and it'll be interesting, I think, and it's something that we'll probably definitely talk about more as the new smartphone range comes in. And will there be other big time flops because of similarities to previous brands, or what's going to happen, really? Do we have ideas on what we think we're going to see, or what's going to happen, or are people changing?
And see, the thing that's going against our phone manufacturers as well is that their processors are getting so good, we don't need a new phone for another 2 or 3 years. And as well, like, one of the big influencers that you ended up getting a new phone a few years ago was the battery load. But I just read earlier on that since 2008, battery performance in smartphones has increased by about 50%.
Unless you're on an iPhone.
Well, no, I still get a full day on my iPhone. Like, what's your battery on?
Take a shot.
I know people that inside work who have Samsungs that and their phones always go down all the time. Like, I know, but again, like, it's the lifespan of the phone. Like, if you can get, like, at least, if you can get up until 7 or 8 o'clock, if you can get home from work, home to your charger with your phone, you're happy enough. The battery goes dead if you're getting a full day of it. And as well, like, with the processors and that, if they're not really slowing down in there for a couple of years, there's no need for you to get a new phone. Like, you always have them people out there who need to have the next best thing, and that's great for all the manufacturers and that. But for me, I have my iPhone nearly a year now. It's still going fine. Never really crashes or freezes on me at all. The battery still lasts most of the day. I mean, I don't feel the need to. I probably won't have to upgrade my phone for at least another year or more, unless Apple decides to slow it down on purpose. I should say.
What do you think?
Well, that's another kind of worms, Dean.
Yeah. I might get into that next week.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens at Mobile World Congress. That's at the end of February over in Barcelona. So we'll probably, I suppose, John, will probably touch base on that another time. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to probably have an episode just dedicated to that conference on its own. I'd say there's going to be that much going on with that. So to summarize on the iPhone situation with the iPhone X, Apple okay, iPhone X pile of crap.
Yeah,
pile of shit.
They've halved their production order there for the first quarter of this year. It was something like 49 million. I think it's down to 20 million now or something like that.
Yep.
So obviously they're going to be selling it for the next probably year and a half or so. But production is going to stop very soon. So,
guys, what do you think?
The iPhone X, a disappointment overall. Look, I think
And
this
as well,
year has to be big.
yeah.
This year has to be big for Apple. Otherwise, serious questions are going to be asked about.
And I think the worst thing that, and I think the worst thing Apple did as well is they just simply priced the iPhone X out of the market. I mean, like, to be able to expect for people to pay 1,300 quid for a phone is just, it's just basically insulting their intelligence, really.
It's extortion at the end of the day, you know. It's really, really is.
Okay.
Crazy.
I'm just conscious of the time. So what I'm gonna before we move on to the games, one phone on the market, one phone only. If you had to pick any phone on the market right now that you want out of your pocket and you had to pay for it yourself, what phone's that going to be? Gary, go, then Dean.
If I had to pay for it, I would probably go with actually a Samsung A5 2017.
Oh,
the A5 2017.
Yep.
Oh,
yeah. Do you know what? I think with the A series with Samsung, they just tend to be like the Samsung flagship 2 years previous. So like the A5 is like basically S6, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's you know, it's a souped up S7 actually. It's very similar under the hood, but it's just an absolutely cracking piece of equipment for the price you pay for it.
Yeah.
Get one.
Interesting call. Good pricing as well. Like, it's very relatively easy price.
You pick one of them up for free versus 800 quid for the iPhone X.
Yeah.
You know, if you're signing into a contract for like 300 quid if you're buying it there, right? So
true, sorry.
Around. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, it'll have to be that one.
Dean?
If I had to me out of my own pocket, I'd have to probably go with the OnePlus, just for the specs in it and to much I use my phone. Like, I do need a good processor. I'm constantly listening to music on it. Inside work, I do need a good processor and just the price of it. And being honest, if I could get my hands on the Star Wars edition that is only on sale in India, I would very much like to have it. But I'm not. The OnePlus would be for me, definitely.
I'd be looking at the Huawei range.
Yeah, Huawei. Yeah,
what is it?
Up there.
What's the current second model in the Huawei range? Because I was looking at that recently, and it's very good specs for
the Lite. The 11 Lite, is it?
The Lite, yeah, great specs. It's not far removed from the flagship model, and the main difference is in the material that the phone is built with. If you don't mind having plastic instead of aluminium and glass, yeah, fuck that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Edge screens now.
Yeah, big screen, lovely phone. The Huawei stuff is, for me, I like how they look, I like how they work.
Yeah, no, they're good.
And if it was money out of my own pocket, it would be the Lite version, because that's a nice kind of almost premium phone, similar to the A5, I guess. So yeah, can we have our fun time now and talk about games? I love games. Gary, you're with me on this. You like your games. Dean's basically going to be silent and shut up for probably the foreseeable future, because he's got no gaming bone in his body. What's the last game you actually played? Do you play any games, or are you just like an 8-year-old man the whole time?
I completed the remastered Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Which
I was hoping you'd say Crash Bandicoot. But,
but I finished that in like 4 days, and I haven't played online on it simply because it's going to take me about 6 hours, because I had to download some update to play online, which has gone stupid. This is why I think consoles have got ridiculous these days. Back in the day, if I wanted to play online, I stuck the disc in and I went online and played. Now, it takes me 2 days to set up online.
That's because you live in the middle of nowhere and you have an internet connection of 0.01 of a meg. That's not anybody's fault other than...
No, it's still not a hassle, because you have to...
Move house!
No, you have to download the game onto your Xbox. Then you have to install it, and then you have to make another download. Like, it's so much hassle gaming these days.
No,
I know that when it gets set up, when it eventually gets set up, you don't have to do it again. But it's just, I just can't be bothered.
But like, when the new FIFA came out, I pre-ordered it, and it came down. I woke up in the morning, the game was there.
If you fall in love with gaming again, you need to get yourself one of the old Mega Drives.
Yeah, an old Sega Mega Drive. Give me that and a bit of Super Mario, and I'll be happy as a pig and shit.
The Nintendo Switch.
Or the Nintendo 64 and Mario 64.
The Nintendo Switch is where it's at for me at the moment. I love the look of that. I think that's amazing.
I've seen it once in person. It's grand. What do you think, Gary?
I actually haven't seen too much of it of the Switch, to be honest with you. I think, look, Nintendo are invaders, even with the Wii and that, but I haven't seen too much of it. I'm actually, at the moment, I've gone seriously retro in my gaming. I really have. Like, the last game I played was Mortal Kombat 3, and remastered version, the 1990 whatever version of Mortal Kombat 3. That was the last game I played, and it's just so good.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Like, it is a very good idea, and obviously it will definitely appeal to like the younger generation. Like, you know, like people kids probably 12 and younger, like who like playing their
Mario Kart,
the Mario games and stuff like that. And like Nintendo, like that's always kind of been the target market. I think kind of the younger generation.
Family social gaming, I guess.
Yeah. So like, Nintendo are definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. They've been around longer than all of the other lads put together. I'm pretty sure they've been around since like the 1800s or something like that. Nintendo.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a great idea. But again, the reason I stopped gaming was because I just couldn't play online back in the day when everyone was playing Call of Duty online. I just kind of got out of it, and I picked up FIFA 18 when I got the PS4, and I just can't figure out Ultimate Team. There's like 8 different ways that you can play it, and I just don't have a clue what I'm doing. Just give me 2 pads and one of the lads, and I'm happy out.
Do you want a game after this? I'll whack you.
Yeah.
Grand. Any games you're playing at the moment, Gary?
No, I'm waiting on a particular game that's coming out next week, which I am really excited about.
What you waiting on?
If anyone's played it on PlayStation 2, Shadow of the Colossus, which is actually one of the highest ranked games ever made for PlayStation.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's one of those games that when it came out, nobody outside of your hardcore gamers knew about, and then it just steamrolled itself when it was on PlayStation 2. And it's the most basic concept. It's literally you, a sword, and a horse, and you're taking on these absolute behemoth colossus, and you've just literally got to try and kill them with you and the sword.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean,
it's being released now on PlayStation in a week's time. I'm super excited. As you can probably tell.
We actually, we're not connected on PlayStation Online yet, are we?
No, we're not actually.
But that's something we really need to fix.
Yeah.
Jesus.
We get
podcasts bringing people together.
We could get Martin involved as well to get an old four-player FIFA going or something like that.
We can get a 4-way going. Woo! No, nobody else going to pick up on that. Yeah, I mean, for me, the big game that I'm playing at the moment, it's the same thing I've been playing for the last, I'd say 14 years. This year's edition of Football Manager. You know, since Christmas Day, I'll let the two of you guess. How many hours have I put down in the game since Christmas Day, would you guess?
100.
Not far off.
I'm gonna go with seasons here. You know, I reckon you're probably into about your 16th season.
I'm about 60.
60?
60, yeah.
I'd say I haven't played 60 hours of gaming in the past 10 years. That's actually, do you know what? I definitely have not played 60 hours of gaming in the past 10 years.
I mean, if you think about it, the 2 weeks off for Christmas, 4 hours a day on average. I mean, I play as Fulham, and my goal is to make them into a Champions League winning team, and I will get there by hook or by crook. No cheating, though. And the day that I get into the Champions League final, I'm saying it now on the podcast, if my Fulham team gets into the final, I'm going to wear a suit, I'm going to sit on the couch, play the Champions League music, I'm going to do the whole shebang, and it's going to be epic until I lose.
You can stick it on the CV and apply for the Ireland manager job.
Yeah, that's actually what I do. I have the wireless. This is how bad I am with this. I actually have the wireless keypad that I connect to the laptop, and laptop goes into the HDMI and the TV. So I sit back with a rather large Football Manager screen, which is delicious when you're looking at the spreadsheets and stuff. And this year's game, you obviously have things like player dynamics. So, like, you know, the dressing room mechanics come into play. So if I piss off a player with a contract situation, I could suddenly have 20 of them all unhappy with me. So you really have to know how to play not just the sport, but the background of the sport. Like, so the news conferences, the player management, training, staff, relationship with the chairman, everything comes into play, and everything affects everything the same way that Premier League football does. We see it week in, week out with, you know, Premier League clubs and talks with managers, and suddenly the manager's head is being turned, or a player's head is being turned, and everything changes. And Football Manager is the closest recreation to real life football in terms of a gaming platform, and that's why I love it.
Have you ever played it, Gary?
I played Championship Manager back in the day, 1998, 1999, when
I still have that.
I was signing up the likes of Tony Yeboah and whatnot, but since then,
Freddie
Adu.
Oh, the hero.
The legend that was Freddie Adu. Well, I
What?
just got to the point where I couldn't, the commitment, the time commitment.
Yeah.
To that.
Yeah.
All I want to do is just pick up the controller and play.
Yeah.
And 4 hours a day. Nah, you can keep.
Yeah.
I can think of better things to be doing for 4 hours.
It sucked me in badly. Okay, I had nothing else to do. I was.
If I can't even
I'm getting
manage
ridiculous,
Ultimate Team, there's not a hope I could even wrap my head around.
Well, look, to be fair, in my defence, I kind of, I did a little bit of damage to my back before Christmas, so I was pretty much in bed for most of that 2 weeks. So I had nothing better to do. So give me a little bit of grace on that one. I mean,
Fair enough. We'll cut you some slack.
woo! I mean, have you played Fortnite?
No, I have not played Fortnite.
It's the one that's ever online at the moment.
Yeah, one of my friends though keeps raving on about it, and he was the same as me. He wasn't a massive gamer, but he basically said that it's just you go online, 100 random people, you just get thrown in, and it's a free for all.
It's an absolute. It's fucking carnage.
So I think I have it downloaded at home. It was like 6 gigabytes, and it was taking me like 25 hours. So I just had my PlayStation on all night. So I'm going to go home later on now, and I'm going to see if I can play it and see what all the fuss is about.
Gary, have you downloaded it?
That next month or next week.
No, not yet. But now that you mentioned it,
It's teams of 4, by the way.
Yeah, download it.
Team Goose.
We can get all 4 of us and go have a rampage on Fortnite.
This sounds like a plan. This sounds like something I could give up 4 hours for.
Yeah.
Yep. Headphones in. Let's talk shite while we're not being recorded, and go follow people around and try to shoot at them. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there, right? I mean, and the other big game that's been all over the internet lately, PlayerUnknown Battleground.
I have heard so much about this, actually. A friend of mine has been absolutely raving about this, and all he ever plays.
We lost Martin for about a week because of that game as well. He just vanished. One day I get a message going, "Have you played Battleground PlayerUnknown or whatever, or fucking PlayerUnknown Battleground?" I was like, "Nope," and then I didn't hear from him for like a couple of days. He just went poof.
What is it? What's the premise of it?
Similar to Fortnite, just drop into an open map and go cause absolute fucking mayhem.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just a case of putting you into a world where you pretty much kill everybody else. It's online battle royale. That's literally
Yeah. What more could you like?
Apparently there's
What more could you ask for?
That's it. Well, apparently there's communities and everything online now where they actually go hunting in packs on Battleground. So it's mad. There's actually people living in this world who are just.
I mean, especially with the way things have gone with games, and some of them got so convoluted. I love seeing these games that it's just the whole premise is here's a gun, go do your thing.
Proper old school hack and slasher.
Yeah, there's no science, there's no skill required. Here's a gun, here's a map. Go do what you got to do. We'll see you in a while. Happy days.
And that's what you want, like that's why, like that. This is why I don't play games. I can't sit down and concentrate on a story and get interested enough to play a story. But I would happily enjoy going into a battleground with a gun and just shooting people. And I actually played my friend the other day. It was just one-on-one Call of Duty, and he was a big into Call of Duty back in the day. And he beat me like 15-0 twice in a row. I was actually quite pitiful at it. So I mightn't actually be much good to you if we do get a 4-player team together, but we'll see what we can do. Hopefully in time I might be able to improve myself.
Well, Gary hasn't played Fortnite yet. I've only played a little bit. I'm sure Martin has only played a little bit. So between the 4 of us, we're not exactly going to be fantastic, but let's
It'll be a bit of crack.
see where it goes.
4 lads in the zombie apocalypse that no one wants to save. Just leave them sitting in the corner. Leave them hiding in the corner. It'd be grand.
Yeah, to be fair. Any other games that you're on?
No, as I said, I'm very much on the retro buzz at the moment. Until next week. I did pick up one of those. I actually was given one for Christmas. One of the Sega Mega Drives, like 85 games free in it. So
like the SNES Minis and stuff like that, is it?
Yeah. It's the Sega one, but it's got the old school Sega Mega Drive.
They were impossible to get hold of.
If you remember the Half Moon controllers.
Oh yeah.
Like it's proper retro, but it's enhanced for.
I'd have been only a nipper now when those were around, so I just vaguely remember them, Jack and I.
I'm showing my age now, you see.
You were.
I am really, but yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic,
yes.
Oh yes.
That's what I'm at the moment.
Yeah, no, to be honest, I would actually love to be able to pick up one of them old Segas and just get a whack of it, because I used to be big into Sega back in the day myself. Sonic, I can definitely remember, and obviously with Super Mario's. I think was there anything else really? No, just them two really, I think, and then you got the likes of the N64 came out. You had Duke Nukem. Did you play Duke Nukem 64?
Oh, Duke Nukem.
What a game. They do not make them like that anymore. I don't care how good the graphics are.
No. Absolutely not.
Tech people, and we go back to the fucking early 90s for our favourite games.
I swear, I'm pretty sure that there was like a room in Duke Nukem, and you went in, and there was like a picture of a naked girl on the wall, and that possibly could have been my first boner.
Wasn't that the room that everybody tried to find when they played Duke Nukem?
Oh, I found it.
And with that,
without a walkthrough on YouTube.
And with that, Dean found his sexuality. And guess what? I'm 100% sure this is going to be the clip for this week. Last week you're talking about your teddies. This week you're talking about your first erection. We're learning an awful lot of weird shit about you because of this. Oh wow. Actually, last question before we kind of wrap it up. Is anybody, Joe, when you're on lunch and work, is anybody nipping around with any mobile games at the moment? I mean, Clash of Clans was really big for a while. I was kind of obsessed with Disney's Magic Kingdom, which is not a proud moment, but it's a fact. Mobile games, anybody, anything of note, really?
I've actually downloaded something there yesterday.
Ooh.
That was actually it's on Android. It's called Bricks Breaker Puzzle, and I downloaded it last night, and I am already on level 99.
99.
That is how addictive this game is.
Jesus.
Yeah. If anybody ever remembers, I can't think of the name of the game, but it's where you have the platform on the bottom of the screen. You can move it left or right, and the ball would go up and it would smash the bricks at the top.
I remember the game right about, but I can't remember the name. But yeah, I definitely remember that.
Essentially, it's a take on that. But it's just kind of it's not just one ball. It's like 60 or 70, and you've got to shoot them at the bricks. Do you know what? If anyone out there is actually looking for a good game on Android, Bricks Breaker Puzzle, this is officially a plug here. Even though I'm not employed by them, download it. It is a really, really cool piece of kit.
Yeah. Actually, I might download that myself because literally the only game I'm playing on my phone at the moment is Tinder. So yeah.
No, I was never a big gamer on my phone now, but some games that I always did find good were them ones that were built into Facebook Messenger. You know, the way you had kind of like a basketball game, and you could play a couple of other games. I think you could play like Tetris and things like that, because they were just easy to play. They were really easy access. Other games as well I really enjoyed playing on my phone. I haven't played it in a while now, but it was what do you call it? It was like Scrabble, Words with Friends. Such a brilliant game.
Oh yeah.
You could obviously, like, I could play you, Gary, online, and you could make a move, and I would have to make a move for a week. I could probably download the game now, and I could probably still have games active that I was playing like last year. You know, so like it's not a game that you have to give your full attention to. You can just play it on and off when you want. It's just such a simple game to play, and it's actually a really good game as well. I know it's only Scrabble, but Scrabble gets a bad rap.
I can't beat a bit of Scrabble.
Yeah.
Heads Up is a fantastic game to play.
Heads Up is a brilliant game to play as well.
Especially if you're on the piss.
Yeah, definitely Heads Up. Well, it's basically charades, and the person has to hold the phone up to their forehead, and the other people have to act out what is on the screen. So it might say like monkey, and the people have to act like a monkey, and then it actually videos their acting. So at the end of the video, you can actually watch back all of their movements.
Everybody's reactions to it. Yeah,
great crack. And one other one as well is Evil Apples, which is essentially Cards Against Humanity.
I don't play much games on my mobile phone. You've already figured out about 3 or 4.
But this is over the course of probably like 5 years I played this. But no, Evil Apples as well is definitely another one I highly recommend when you're drinking, or even you don't even have to be in the same room with your friends again. Like, you know, be in your separate houses, and it's just good crack.
Any other mobile games, or are we good on that?
No, I As I said, I'm addicted to this thing, so I'll probably be on the level 150 by the time tomorrow morning comes around.
Yeah.
I think for me, when it comes to mobile game, I'll just pick up one game and let's stick with it for a while.
Just dive right in and lose yourself in it, I guess. Yeah,
just play it to death and then move on.
Cool. All right, I guess we'll wrap it up on this. I'm just conscious of the time that we're coming into the hour mark, so been great to have you, Gary. It's been nice to get you on. We'll get you.
Absolute pleasure, gentlemen.
We'll get you back on in a couple of weeks' time. Do you think?
Absolutely. Sounds like a plan.
Fantastic. I mean, before we wrap it up, let's obviously give ourselves a shameless plug. Ta-da! We're available now on SoundCloud, Stitcher, iTunes, and any other place that you can get your podcast. Be sound, leave us a 5-star review, even if you don't mean it. Really don't, just be cool, help brothers out, Other than that, if you want to get in contact with us, we're on the Facebook, the Twitter machine, kind of on Instagram half the time. Snapchat's there. So LinkedIn is there.
And just remember, spelling is GOOS3D.
Yeah, that's important to remember.
That's the most important part.
So yeah.
And thanks to obviously the people who listened last week as well. Hopefully you'll tune in again this week to hear us talk more
shite about technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, let's wrap it up on that. Thanks very much, guys, and I will catch you all in about 2 weeks' time. Peace out.
All
right, good luck. Bye.